I would be happy to. So, Kat McLeod hails from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. She's a skeptical activist and consumer advocate who's passionate about dispelling misinformation, especially regarding herbal remedies, or is that herbal? Hmm. Kat works at the University of Alberta. However, she also volunteers there as a mentor for medical students. Coping with the consequences of taking herbal supplements has given her a unique perspective that she shares with the next generation of healthcare professionals, arming them with the knowledge that can hopefully prevent the kind of suffering that she herself had to endure. Kat is a member of the Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia team, GSOW, has written articles for Skeptical Inquirer, and is a regular reporter on the Skeptic Zone podcast, where, for some reason, she sometimes goes by the name Kate. Also on the same podcast, she has been revealed to be an alien and a member of the Galactic Federation.
I want to hear more
Welcome,
about that.
welcome to RfRx, Kat.
Welcome to Earth.
Third
Thank
rock
you
from the
so
sun.
much. I
We're
suppose I
so
have to
glad to
share
have
my
you.
screen now, and so I won't watch Chicken Cam anymore, huh?
Oh, I know. That's one of our favorite parts of the evening is chicken cam.
I love Chicken Cam. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Awesome. And thank you for having me here. This is wonderful. I've joined you in the past and I've been lurking in the chat rooms, and now I get to actually talk. That's kind of fun.
Well, and I
And
want to tell people that you did this on very short notice, and I really appreciate it.
my pleasure. Um, it's just such short notice. I don't have my tiara on, so sorry. Uh, but hopefully this isn't traumatizing to anyone. It's a difficult story for me to tell, but it's also difficult for people to hear sometimes. So I do recognize that. And if you are finding it's a little too much and you need to dip out, I won't be offended. Because what I'm going to tell you today is about how wicked woo can actually get. So I have spent my entire adult life being a consumer advocate and a skeptical activist. I've spoken to countless pharmacy and medicine students about my personal experience with herbal products, which I'll call them. And I'm so honored that I have a chance to speak with you all today about what I like to call uncomplimentary medicine, or so called complementary medicine, also known as scam. While this demotivational poster is very funny, it has become actually one of my life mottos. I'm going to take you on an abridged version of my herbal health story so that you or somebody you care about can learn from my mistake. And yes, I will more than willingly talk openly about this in the Hangout. We can go deeper in depth, but I'm trying to keep this on time.
Kat, I have to interject. Did you make this poster up, or is there actually a company called Despair.com?
There's actually a company called despair.com.
Oh my God.
I love these demotivational posters. They are hilarious to
They
me.
are the best. I
And
just, they
yeah,
speak to me.
same. And for anybody that's listening to the audio, it says mistakes and it's a picture of a sinking ship. And it says it could be that the purpose of your life is only to serve as a warning to others.
Which is true for me. I'm here to serve as a warning to everybody else. So, when I was about 20 years old, I was told by my family doctor that I should start taking steroids for my asthma because it was getting really bad. And I'd seen steroids cut my grandmother's life short, so I was not keen on that at all. A friend of my mother's suggested I go to her herbalist. She and her family had been going to him for 10 years, and he'd been in business for over 25 years. He was the biggest herbalist in my city. I went and I was totally amazed at the things he was able to tell me just by taking my pulse in different places on my wrist, which I now know is woo. Uh, but it fooled me at the time. Initially, he prescribed a loose herb tea for me to drink. I took this big, ugly, stinky bag, home and I brewed it up. And I was supposed to drink several cups of this a day. I was so excited that I even recorded myself brewing up the first batch. And this is pre-TikTok days, okay? Like, not to age myself out here, but yeah. But the concoction was so bitter and nasty that I couldn't even have 2 sips of it, let alone several cups a day. I was despondent. What a huge waste of money, and my hope was just evaporated. I felt so discouraged. I went back to the herbalist and explained what had happened, and he said, "Oh, well, you can take some capsules instead." And so, undeterred and desperate to get healthy, I handed over more money, and thus began my adventure with Asmawan, also known as Trisepect. I was cautious about the herbs. I read up on what I was taking and how they may interact with other things. But keep in mind, I was young, and so was the internet, so Dr. Google wasn't seeing patients yet. I was actually referencing books, glorious books. I thought I was making an informed decision. My one ignorance was that I didn't know that herbs and health foods weren't regulated in Canada. I was naive and assumed everything sold in Canada was regulated. It didn't take long for me to notice a big difference in how I was feeling. The sinus issues I'd battled my entire life and my asthma were virtually gone. I could finally breathe freely. I was working out 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, but I was gaining a lot of weight. And I'm not talking muscle. I had limited mobility in my neck. Cuts and bruises were taking ages to heal. I had trouble concentrating. I was incredibly emotional. And I know a lot of 20-year-olds are emotional, but I was really emotional. And I was getting these strange marks all over my body. I was secretly worried that I might have cancer or some awful disease. So, after a few months, I went to my family doctor, but she didn't know what to tell me. She recommended I stop taking the herbs just to see what would happen. But that didn't seem like a good enough reason to me because the herbs seemed to be working. I was breathing well and I could be more active, so just to see what happened didn't make sense to me. She sent me for a battery of tests and referred me to a plethora of other doctors. It kicked off 5.5 months of seeing a litany of specialists and having different tests administered 2 to 3 times a week, from blood work to biopsies. Doctors would never tell me up front what they were looking for. They would only tell me what they'd ruled out once the test came back. I'm not the most patient person in the world. So, because I worked at a university, I went to the library and started reading medical textbooks to see if I could figure out what was going on with me. All the confidence of a 20-year-old. And I figured out that I likely had Cushing's. And it was confirmed when I was referred to an endocrinologist. I'd been taking the herbs for about 10 months and had gained about 50 kilograms, or 110 pounds for the imperial folks, in those 10 months. The doctor said if I hadn't been eating so well and exercising so much, I likely would have gained twice as much weight in that short of time. I no longer recognized myself when I looked in the mirror. I had developed this horribly named moon face and buffalo hump. That's what the doctors call it, a buffalo hump. Because
What?
when you feel awful and you feel, just like your self-esteem is in the toilet, they
Yeah.
give you these wonderful medical names to just knock you down another notch.
Wow, rude.
So rude, right? Hello. Um, but now that we knew that I had Cushing's, I had hoped that they could fix me. But they weren't sure why I had developed it, since normally it's caused by a tumor on your pituitary or your adrenal glands, which I did not have. So they didn't know how to treat me because they didn't know what was causing it. One day over lunch, my endocrinologist was talking with a pediatric specialist about their unique cases. We're freaks. Um, the peds doctor had 3 patients with very odd symptoms, and none were the same as each other. However, as he's talking about them, my endocrinologist is going, check, check, check. I had all of their symptoms. I was the key. It turns out we were all taking asthma one. So the endocrinologist called me and said, hey, do you have any of that stuff that we could test? And in my coffee break, since I worked at the university, I ran across the street to the hospital and gave it to him. The test showed that asthma had an ingredient not listed in the packaging called cow gallstones. They were acting like a corticosteroid 12 times more potent than prednisone. I was taking 9 capsules a day, or the equivalent of 108 prednisone a day. And yes, I've learned that there is a big market for cow gallstones. In 2020, they were fetching anywhere from 45 to 77 US dollars per gram. Who knew? Aren't you glad that you now know?
I'm glad I know now. What in the world?
The other patients, the pediatric children, were on a lower dose, which is likely why they weren't presenting all of the symptoms like I was. Had I stopped taking the herbs cold turkey just to see what would happen, like my GP suggested, I likely would have died. Because I nearly died when they were trying to figure out how to wean me off the herbs. And I know you wanted a picture of cow gallstones.
I mean, I kind of did.
I psychically, I tapped into that. Once I knew what was making me sick, I faxed the herbalist to tell him it was his stuff to blame because he had seen me get sicker and sicker and sicker. And he just kept recommending different herbs for me to take as band-aids to all of these symptoms that I was getting. Like, here, take this for weight loss. Here, take this for your skin. And so I was spending hundreds of dollars a month. And I'm like, it's your stuff that's making me sick. And he didn't do anything. He continued to sell them. He knew it was dangerous. He knew children were being hurt, let alone young adults. And he didn't care. As a side note, he had an intern who was working with him who had also read my fax, because yes, I faxed him. Okay. And the intern was taking a loose herb tea like the ones I started with for the eczema he had on his hands. And he decided to ask a grad student friend of his to test them. The results showed that they were coated with 3 times the legal amount of DDT permitted in China. And DDT is a known carcinogen that has been outlawed in North America for my entire lifetime. So it turns out handling the loose herbs all day was actually eating away the flesh on his hands. He didn't have eczema. So he stopped working there and went into iridology. For those who aren't familiar with iridology, it's a scam treatment that became popular in 1881, where ailments are supposedly detected by looking at someone's irises and comparing them to an iridology chart like the ones I've posted here.
What?
Yeah, I know. I told you it's a traumatizing story. But back to me, because it's all about me. Um, when this happened to me, I was, typical redhead, livid. I spoke with a lawyer who told me that I couldn't sue the herbalist. I could only sue the government because there weren't any regulations in place. So it was perfectly fine for him to sell me this crap, even though he knew it was dangerous. At the time, I was told I likely wasn't going to live very long, and certainly I would not live long enough to see the court case come to fruition, let alone to a conclusion. To which I replied that I would be 80 and dancing on their graves, because I've always been a little bit spicy. So what I did is I became vocal. I wanted to warn everyone So I spoke to pharmacists, I spoke to healthcare providers, coworkers, anyone who would listen, even people who didn't want to. I got my story out there. I was in the local newspaper a couple of times, back when people actually read the paper news as opposed to just online fun stuff. Through it all, I never ever came across the parents of those 3 children. I don't know if it was 3 separate families or one family. I have no idea who they were. All I can hope is that the 3 children who were affected by asthma 1 are okay because they were on a lower dose. I thought the parents would be as incensed as I was and would speak out, but probably guilt and or shame was too much for them to bear to be willing to be vocal. Because it can be incredibly difficult to admit that you made a mistake, especially one that has such big consequences. Shame and embarrassment can be absolutely crippling, and I assume that because the children were on lower doses and because children tend to rebound so well, that they're probably doing okay without any lasting side effects. At least that's my hope, because that's what happened to my sister, my big sister, who was also taking a lower dose of asthma 1 and was able to be successfully weaned off once we knew what it was. Fun times. So I became a guest speaker for 3rd and 4th year pharmacy students at the University of Alberta, and I would tell them my story at the start of every term. An inspector from Health Canada would also speak to the stories that she found, and she told some terrifying stories. We could talk in the hangout. um, but one of the things that she did say was that she spoke about inspecting manufacturing plants, and she saw mouse droppings and broken glass being mixed in with the products that were being made. There were no safety or cleanliness standards being kept at many places because they didn't have to. There were and still are too few site inspectors to do regular inspections. She once told me, fun little story, fun tangent, about a couple who wanted to sell ground alfalfa as a herbal supplement. It's supposed to be good for arthritis, but they wanted to make sure they were doing things safely and properly. Kudos to them. So she told the couple to send her a sample, and she sent it off to a lab in Vancouver for testing. And normally the results of this sort of thing would be sent to her via the post, like olden days. But this time the lab phoned her and asked where that sample came from because it was the most toxic contamination that they had ever seen. So when she went back to the couple to find out where they sourced this alfalfa from, they told her that they were picking it from the side of the highway near their home. So it was covered in pesticides and pollution. Oh, fun times. So I developed a quick friendship with the Health Canada inspector. Her name was Elaine. And we would keep each other in the loop about what we were doing and if we could help each other out. So instead of suing the government, I ended up volunteering my time and I became part of a stakeholder group with Health Canada to work towards having natural health products regulated. I felt this was the only way I could ensure that other people would have more protection than I had. And the regulations came into force on January 1st, 2004. And while these natural health product regulations are not perfect, they're a good starting point, and they help to ensure good manufacturing processes and proper labeling occur. Also, product recalls can happen, items can be banned for sale, and manufacturers can be held accountable if necessary.
Kat, do you know anything about the relative rules in Canada versus the US?
I do, and I'm going to talk about that in a
Okay,
nanosecond.
thank you. 'Cause I fear we're worse in the US, but we'll see
You
what you say.
are.
Oh,
Spoiler
of
alert.
course.
The US has even less regulations than
Ugh.
Canada does. But I'll get there. So, why should you care about this? Because most of you are from America. Well, you should care because this could just as easily happen to you or someone you love. AltMed is a marketplace built on deception. About 20 years ago, it was estimated that 4 billion people worldwide regularly use natural health products, which was over 65% of the global population. That number has increased recently to 80% of people worldwide relying on herbal products or supplements for some part of their primary health care, with the majority of products remaining untested and unmonitored. Between 80 and 90% of the natural health products available worldwide come from Asia, and 60 to 80% of those are from China, which have the least restrictive standards. The efficacy is questionable at best, and the safety of most herbal products is compromised by the lack of suitable quality controls, inadequate labeling, an absence of appropriate patient information sheets like you get with like your Tylenol and stuff. Most people just bin those, but some of us read them because they can include warnings about potential interactions, which is important for people like me who take other medication on a regular basis. In many places like Canada, manufacturers only have to self-attest to the accuracy of their claims, and they don't need to provide evidence or studies. In the USA, there are no strict regulations except for a few exceptions that fall under the umbrella of the Dietary Supplement Act. You don't need a license to sell supplements in the USA. In a 2019 study completed by the U.S. Drug Induced Liver Injury Network, that's a really long name, it assayed that the contents of some herbal and dietary supplements. The aim of the study was to determine the accuracy of product labels and to identify known hepatotoxins, which are things that attack your liver. Of the 272 products obtained by patients in the study, 51%, or 140 products, were found to be mislabeled. 91 products had dangerous contaminants, including illegal steroids and a prescription pain medication. Appearance enhancement, sexual performance, and weight loss products were most commonly mislabeled. They're also some of the most popular. Of the 272 products, 96 were directly implicated as a cause for liver injury in 71 of the patients. Drug-induced liver injury from supplements accounts for 20% of all such cases in America. Research has identified approximately 17 supplements definitively linked to kidney damage, including traditional Chinese herbs, weight loss products, and athletic performance enhancers. According to QZ.com, or Rob would say QZ.com, because he loves how I
Not just
mispronounce
me,
things.
not just me, Kappa. Thank you. Thank you for recognizing that.
Quote, making outrageous claims for alternative medicine is considered health fraud, except in the field of homeopathy. In fact, all prescription and non-prescription products labeled as homeopathic go to market without FDA approval. And do we know why homeopathy doesn't need FDA approval?
Oh, I bet I know. It's because there's no detectable amount of the alleged substance in it.
You are so smart. You're always top of the class, aren't you?
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
that obnoxious person that reads ahead and researches the answers to the
The
discussion
only thing I would say to
questions.
that, and there are there's a famous video of James Randi standing on stage taking a whole bottle of homeopathic sleeping medication like before a lecture, and of course it doesn't affect him at all because it's bullshit. But the thing I'd worry about is just like Kat's talking about previously, you don't know what's in it that shouldn't be in it, right? That I would not do that because you don't know that they don't have steroids in the freaking stuff.
Well, most homeopathy is nothing more than sugar pills, but that doesn't mean that people should be allowed to fleece consumers, right? It's unlikely with homeopathy that they'd be adding anything in because they believe it's all about the memory. And they believe the whole premise behind homeopathy is that like cures like. So to make a homeopathic remedy, you would take the main ingredient, dissolve it in a solution of usually water, but sometimes pure alcohol. Shake it or tap the beaker to usually about 100 times. And then you take a drop of that and put it into another beaker full of water or alcohol, and you tap that 100 times. And you do this usually over 100 times, which makes it really hard for health inspectors when they're trying to make sure that everything's been done correctly, that the mother tincture and every succession afterwards has been done correctly, because it gets really diluted really quickly. But their thought process is, if you take, for instance, a tincture or a pill containing belladonna, which is known as deadly nightshade. It's a poisonous plant. But if you take it and there's just this memory of what was in there, then it's going to cure you if you have, an upset stomach. To treat a fever or sore throat or an ear infection, it can help you out. Practitioners believe that the water or the alcohol has got a memory of the main ingredient. But if that was true, wouldn't it also have the memory of dinosaur poop? These are the things I think about late at night, because dinosaur poop was also once in the water. While these products are nothing more than placebo effects, they're expensive and they're misleading, especially since they're on store shelves right next to actual medication. People taking homeopathy may be reluctant to also seek medical attention. I absolutely adore this quote from Tim Minchin. It says, quote, "Alternative medicine, by definition, has either not been proven to work or been proven not to work. Do you know what they call alternative medicine that has been proven to work? Medicine." The supplement industry has positioned itself as a gentler, natural alternative, growing from $4 billion in annual sales in 1994 to $35.7 billion in 2022, just in the USA. That's not worldwide. However, it lacks strict oversight and evidence requirements that make modern medicine safe and reliable. These guys don't have it. I was skeptical, cautious, and I spent hundreds of dollars a month on herbal products that nearly cost me my life and permanently destroyed my health. I bought into the ancient fallacy that because traditional Chinese herbal remedies have been used for centuries, they should be safe and effective, as well as the natural fallacy that things in nature are healthier. But to quote my sister, snake bites and arsenic are all natural too. I don't recommend them.
What's
And
the
it's not
famous
just the,
quote by Gwyneth Paltrow? Nothing that's natural can harm you.
oh my.
Wow, that is a bold claim.
Yeah.
Whew, that girl needs to get out and experience the real world. And it's not just the delay in getting actual medical care that causes harm. Because these are poorly regulated treatments that cost a lot of money, it can create harm when you're interacting with actual prescription medications. So many herbal supplements affect the enzyme systems that regulate how drugs move through your body, how they're absorbed, distributed, and eliminated. When these enzyme systems are disrupted, medications can either become dangerously ineffective or toxic because they accelerate the breakdown of medications, making them ineffective, or change how quickly or slowly medications are eliminated, and can create unpredictable and dangerous drug levels in the blood. Now, we're going to go back to the 90s for a brief second here. Some of y'all weren't alive then, and sorry. But kava kava became very popular in the 1990s as an attractive recreational drug, reaching peak popularity in 1998. Kava supposedly helps with stress and anxiety. There were even kava juice bars popping up on university campuses. We had one at the U of A. But shortly thereafter, they vanished. Why? Well, because kava was causing liver damage. And when mixed with alcohol, acetaminophen, or some prescription medicines, which you'd never find at a university, it was causing people to become excessively drowsy, and some even became comatose. Chronic use could cause an irreversible dry skin condition, and when mixed with opioids, again, never found on a university campus, kava can lead to serious side effects such as respiratory distress, coma, or death. Even taking normal doses for just a short time has resulted in liver failure with at least one death that I'm aware of. And while you may be thinking that the 90s were so long ago, kava is still legal and sold to this day. In fact, in America, there is a popular drink sold in convenience stores, gas stations, and vape shops called Feel Free, which combines kratom, a stimulant, and kava, a depressant. The product is highly addictive, and in many places you have to be over 18 to purchase it. Feel Free, however, is a fan favorite amongst the teens. And even though they shouldn't be able to buy it, they're getting their hands on it. And they're getting severely addicted to it. But it's not just the teens. In fact, on July 29th of this year, like 2 weeks ago, the FDA issued a report outlining the steps to restrict 7-OH, which is 7-hydroxymidaginin products. I said that right, I think. I'm just going to call it 7-OH though. 7-OH is a naturally occurring substance in the kratom plant, which in concentrated amounts is more powerful than morphine. The report calls 7-OH a, quote, illegal opioid, and is recommending it be considered under the Controlled Substances Act due to concerns about their safety and the potential for abuse. We all know how fast things work in the government. Because this report just came out, all you have to do is like Google kratom or 7-OH. You'll see the news reports. You'll see the survivor stories. I read one this afternoon about a man who had been addicted to heroin, got off of it, had some kratom, said it was harder to get off than heroin. So the stories are out there. You just have to look for them. And of course, every cold and flu season, you hear about people talking about echinacea. It's common, so of course it's fine, right? No, it's in my presentation. It's not all right. Manufacturers can say echinacea, is in a product, but what part of the plant has been used? The petals, the leaves, the stem, the root? Was it a mature plant? What time of day was the plant harvested? Because if it's picked in the early morning or late evening, it likely has dew on it, which will make the plant moldy. While a few small studies have shown very weak evidence for the prevention of colds when echinacea harvested from mature plants is taken regularly for a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks, there is no scientific study that proves that there is anything immune boosting to help cure a cold. You're just paying for a placebo. So please save your money. Now we're going to talk about some fun ones. St. John's wort. I think you've all probably heard of it. It's a very popular supplement commonly used to treat depression, anxiety, and symptoms of menopause. It also appears in multiple medical case reports for causing serious drug interactions and health complications. It interacts with many pharmaceuticals, including migraine medications, antibiotics, antidepressants, birth control, blood thinners, certain pain medications like Tylenol. In fact, St. John's wort is the supplement that has the most documented interactions with prescription drugs. Kara, do you have any idea how many drugs are known to interact with St. John's wort?
I don't. I tried to think ahead, but I bet it's even more than the number that are listed on this slide. Would that be correct?
Do you want to guess a number?
Okay, I'm gonna say like 20.
There are 595 drugs known to interact with St.
Ooh.
John's wort. Over 20
Ooh.
different drug classifications.
Yikes.
Right?
Was way off.
It can make birth control pills ineffective by accelerating their breakdown in the liver. It decreases blood levels of crucial heart medications by 25 to 30%. It renders anti-rejection drugs ineffective for transplant patients. It reduces HIV medication levels by more than 50%. I could go on and on and on and on and on, but just know that it also interacts with anesthesia, chemotherapy drugs, and blood thinners, as well as basic things like antihistamines. So, bottom line, don't take it because it can also interact with vitamins, herbs, and other supplements. Okay. These slides I know are text heavy, but trust me, I could talk an hour about each one of them. Golden seal is often combined with echinacea to help prevent or fight colds, but it's also used to treat conjunctivitis, which is, pink eye, lower your blood pressure, hay fever, or gastro issues. It's really the like one herb fits all kind of thing because, However, it can also change how quickly the liver breaks down some medications, and in some instances may increase the side effects and or the effects of the medication. Common side effects include excitability, hallucinations, constipation, delirium, digestive orders, irritation of the mouth, throat, vagina, or skin, increased sensitivity to sunlight, and it can slow your blood clotting. It's not fun, and it actually, you know, if you take too much of it, it can cause things like paralysis, respiratory failure, seizures, slow heart rate, spasms, or even death. And why am I mentioning it? Because you probably haven't heard of it before, but the herbal Ozempic, which some of you may have heard about because Ozempic's all big in the news, it has berberine as a main ingredient, which is a plant alkaloid that can be extracted from golden seal. I'll tie it in now, see? Method to my madness. But what they don't tell you is berberine is virtually insoluble in water. So it has low intestinal absorption, which means the supplements are likely completely useless. But that doesn't mean there's no risks or possible side effects to taking them. And berberine has also been known to cause gastro issues, on top of all the other fun stuff. Oh goodness. So let's talk about a few more because we're having fun, right? Most people have heard of ginkgo biloba and ginseng. Ginkgo is used to treat a wide range of ailments, including heart disease, dementia, mental difficulties, and sexual dysfunction, not necessarily in that order. Yet studies have not proven it effective for any of those conditions or ailments. It interacts with, Kara, gonna guess?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna really up my guess this time. Let's say 600
Well, no, because
drugs.
St. John's wort has the most.
Oh,
And they're
okay,
only at
okay, okay. Let me go
595.
back. Oh, man, it's really safe by comparison, is what I'm
Totally
hearing.
safe because
Just
it
go get
interacts
some
with
right
nearly
now.
300 medications. Like, that's a drop in the bucket, really. But,
Right. Come on.
it's just little things like anticoagulants and antiplatelet drugs. Those are never important to take, like warfarin and heparin and even ibuprofen. It can just increase the risk of you bleeding out. No biggie.
No big deal. It's
Biggie.
fine.
It can also, interact with anticonvulsants and seizure medications, and it actually can increase your risk of seizures. Um, and it'll alter your body's response to diabetes medications, but nobody minds. It's all fine. And it can also reduce the effectiveness of statins. And it too interacts with other herbs. Studies have shown carcinogenic effects on the thyroid and the liver. So, ginkgo biloba, no. Ginseng is purported to boost immunity. I just love boost immunity. Brain function and energy levels. There are over 100 prescription medications that interact with ginseng. Some are clinically important, such as blood thinners and type 2 diabetes medications. Oh, and antidepressants and immunosuppressants and some cancer treatments. But aside from those, there's several side effects that you won't see on the packaging, including that it can cause birth defects if given to pregnant women or nursing mothers. So maybe not ginseng. But green tea, right? Green tea? Well, no, because green tea and green tea extract claims to improve your cardiovascular health and increase your cognitive function and promote weight loss, regulate your blood sugar levels, and support your digestive health. It can even protect against certain kinds of cancer, apparently, but green tea and green tea extract can also cause stomach issues, headaches, sleep issues. It hinders the calcium absorption and your iron absorption, which is really important for women, especially, women are prone to osteoporosis and anemia. So, oh, and it's also linked to liver disease.
All right, I'm going to go to my tea collection right after the show, and you know what I'm throwing out? I mean, I just have the random selection of all different teas. I never even thought of this one.
Most people don't. That's why I tell them all
All
this
right,
fun
I'm going to
stuff.
stick
I'm
with
hated in so many
Earl
parts
Grey
of the
hot.
world.
That's all. Earl Grey hot. I'm going to stick with that one.
But let's look at some adverse reactions in the news because it's not just me saying this could be dangerous. It's actually, made the news. Um, Lori McClintock was the wife of Northern California Congressman Tom McClintock. She consumed the herbal remedy white mulberry leaf shortly before her death on December 15th, 2021. According to the sorry, I can't say Sacramento. I called it Sacramenti. I apologize to all of those in Sacramento. According to the county coroner report, McClintock died from dehydration due to gastroenteritis caused by, quote, adverse effects of white mulberry leaf ingestion, end quote. She was found with a partially intact white mulberry leaf in her stomach. So they don't know whether she took it as a dietary supplement or she ate it fresh or dried leaves or drank them in a tea. It's unclear from the report. She had complained about an upset stomach while decorating her house for the holidays the day before she died. In the wake of Roe v. Wade being overturned in America, people, especially on social media like TikTok, are looking to induce herbal abortions by consuming mugwort or pennyroyal, which can cause liver failure, seizures, and death. On March 29, 2024, I read about health supplements in Japan that had been recalled after 5 people who had taken them had died, and more than 100 of them ended up in hospital. The pills manufactured by the Osaka-based Kobayashi Pharmaceutical Company were taken off shelves as the health scare began to grow in magnitude. All had taken products containing an ingredient named benakoji, which is a species of red mold. Traditionally, benakoji has been used to make Chinese sake and Okinawan fermented tofu. When made properly, yeast grown on the rice produces various compounds, including lovastatin, which is known to lower cholesterol. We've all heard that. But if something goes wrong, it can produce other chemicals like citrulline, which is a chemical linked to kidney, liver, and cell toxicity. And of course, since lovastatin is considered a drug, it's often left out as an ingredient by supplement makers looking to avoid additional regulatory scrutiny. Many people take the herbal product because it's cheaper than a prescription statin drug. In Japan, some people developed kidney problems after taking the supplements, but the exact cause of the illness and deaths is still under investigation. I follow the Wikipedia page. Currently, there have been over 2,000 people that have gone to the hospital. Over 400 of them had to be admitted to hospital, and the death toll has jumped to over 200. And they know that the product was exported to China and Taiwan, but they weren't sure if it was for use in those countries or if they were selling it on. So there was that massive recall, and there are still 80 deaths that are being investigated to this day. The head of the company resigned in August of 2024, and the company has since ceased making Benecoji products. But yeah, it was scary. And in January of this year, if you've watched the news at all, a report was published that revealed nearly half of the protein powders in the American market exceeded safety limits for toxic metals.
Do you have a list?
Oh, I'm going in depth. That it
Thank
gets its
you.
own slide. Because people use these powders hoping to improve their health or lose weight or gain muscle, right? It's a market that in 2023 was valued at 9.6 billion US dollars. 83% of the products on the market were tested. So that's most of the market. 47% exceeded the safety thresholds. 21% were over the limit that requires warnings for products containing chemicals linked to cancer, birth defects, or reproductive harm. Now, here's where the fun comes in. Plant-based powders had higher levels of metal than the whey powders. Chocolate-flavored ones had the highest levels of heavy metals, 4 times more than vanilla. And the organic powders had, on average, 3 times the lead and double the cadmium. That sounds like a good 3 times the lead and double the cadmium than whey. But these findings don't often make the news because they're not exciting to talk about, unless you're me. And
Okay,
nobody's
I
usually.
I have a follow-up question. I see my protein powder on your slide here. Am I
Yeah,
in danger?
probably.
Oh
I
no.
I didn't actually pick any of these because they were in the study. I just picked random ones that people could read. But I would definitely look into it, and I can always send you the link to the study if you
Yes,
want.
please. I would like to look into this.
But if you're taking chocolate, just honey, just walk away from it.
It is. It's chocolate. That's the best one.
Just walk away from it.
Oh
Heavy metal
no.
is cool, but not when you're ingesting it.
Mm-mm.
I'm
Mm-mm.
just saying, it's
We
not a
don't
good
want
thing.
that. No,
And
we
yeah,
don't want that.
it, if you want, I'll send you the link. I can put it in the chat later if you
Yes,
want.
please. I'm invested now.
Right. I told you this was
Slight,
going to be traumatizing.
slight tangent here, but I had a friend who was an acupuncturist, and she started to have mm, kind of palsy kind of symptoms, and went from quack doctor to quack doctor to quack, never to an actual MD to try to figure out what it was, because of course she was an acupuncturist. And you have to align your chakras or yada yada yada. Years to figure it out as it was getting worse, and it was some kind of medication she was taking, pills, over the counter stuff from China with heavy metals in it.
Yeah, I know
Ruined
somebody who,
her
got
life.
mercury poisoning from supplements, and yeah, it's not good. The news, especially breakfast news and midday news, they like fluff pieces, and quite often they will actually push crud like this because they just don't realize that it's actual pseudoscience. They're just focused on staying healthy
Yeah,
when
and
really
like
they
and
could be
like with
doing
my
more.
friend, the bad thing is a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people who take these will not go to an actual MD when they start having problems, and that'll further delay figuring out what's going on and rectifying the situation.
Absolutely. Because nobody wants to be unwell. Being sick isn't fun. Going to the doctor is an ordeal for many people and an expense for a lot. And sitting nervously on that crinkly paper, waiting to find out what's wrong with you, hoping the news isn't too bad, it's stressful. And the side effects of medication are often not fun to deal with either. And the health and wellness industry subtly reinforces what we've always been told: to eat a well balanced diet and to be active. Who wouldn't rather do yoga on a beach instead of being in a hospital room? We may blame ourselves for our ill health because we weren't perfect in our eating and exercising in the past. And maybe there's a way if we went to an extreme, that we could somehow atone for all of our mistakes and make up for the times that we ate for pleasure instead of for purpose. The possibility of that natural solution is so appealing. I'd like to share a Carl Sagan quote from his 1995 book, The Demon Haunted World. Very good book, I recommend it. Quote, pseudoscience speaks to the powerful emotional needs that science often leaves unfulfilled. It caters to fantasies about personal powers we lack and long for, like those attributed to comic book superheroes today and earlier to the gods. In some of its manifestations, it offers satisfaction of spiritual hungers, cures for disease, promises that death is not the end. End quote. You can see why it would be enticing, especially to vulnerable people who are worried about their health and wanting to do what's best for them. So let's go over a few of my favorite scam marketing myths. Claims that something can boost, improve, or strengthen your immune health. Well, how would they prove that? How can this claim be tested? Where are the peer-reviewed, double-blind studies? There aren't any. None. I'd like to read you an excerpt from an article published in the Harvard Medical Journal from February of 2021, because it says it better than I could. Quote, the idea of boosting your immunity is so enticing, but the ability to do so has proved elusive for several reasons. The immune system is precisely that, a system, not a single entity. To function well, it requires balance and harmony. There's still so much that researchers don't know about the intricacies and interconnectedness of the immune response. For now, there are no scientifically proven direct links between lifestyle and enhanced immune function. Many products on store shelves claim to boost or support your immunity, but the concept of boosting immunity actually makes little sense scientifically. In fact, boosting the number of cells in your body, immune cells or other, is not necessarily a good thing. Attempting to boost the cells of your immune system is especially complicated because there are so many different kinds of cells in the immune system that respond to so many different microbes in so many ways. Which cells should you boost, and to what number? So far, scientists do not know the answer. What is known is that the body continually generates immune cells. No one knows how many cells or what the best mix of cells the immune system needs to function at its optimum level. Walk into a store and you will find bottles of pills and herbal preparations that claim to, quote, support immunity or otherwise boost your health of your immune system. Although some preparations have been found to alter some components of immune function, thus far there's no evidence that they actually bolster immunity to the point where you're better protected against infection and disease. Demonstrating whether a herb or any substance for that matter can enhance immunity is as yet a highly complicated scientific matter. Scientists don't know, for example, whether a herb that seems to raise the levels of antibodies in the blood is actually doing anything beneficial for overall immunity. End quote. Fun fact, it's been proven that if you slap the word natural on a product, it's more likely to sell, even though it's completely meaningless. It plays into the fallacy that natural is best, because labeling something natural implies that it's desirable, morally acceptable, or inherently good. This is known as the appeal to nature fallacy, which I fell for. The intention behind using the label natural is to make consumers feel good about their purchase, and it influences their buying decisions. The belief that natural equals healthier or safer has become widespread, However, the term natural does not provide any information about a product's healthfulness or safety. I like to say the potato chips are natural. Does that mean they're healthy for me? But another example would be like natural E. coli bacteria, which sometimes enters the food chain supply, which can be deadly. On the flip side, the synthetic or man made folic acid is used in fortified foods can prevent serious health consequences for unborn children. So while the term natural can evoke positive feelings, it's essential to critically evaluate product claims and make informed choices based on more than just labeling and marketing gimmicks. Let me tell you right now that detoxes are bogus. If you see something purporting to detoxify your body, it is garbage. Your liver and kidneys detoxify your body, and if they can't, you need medical intervention, not a funky smoothie or a crash diet.
Wait a minute, but what about the thing I saw in Google? What was it? A coffee enema, I think. Yeah.
Oh, honey. Do you want to go down the coffee enema route?
Is there a slide?
Gwyneth Paltrow swears by it. She sells the stuff to do it.
Gwyneth Paltrow is a nutter. Oh,
I
I'll
mean,
get to that.
won't ingesting coffee normally make you go to the bathroom anyway? Like, what are we doing here, folks?
The things people like to put up their bums, I don't know. But yeah, Rob is right. They do talk about detox diets and, coffee enemas. Because
I
normally,
believe there's a Wikipedia page with named Coffee Enema about it. Yeah.
I'll go edit that later. Typically, detox diets are short term, right? And they're to eliminate toxins from your body. And they involve a period of fasting for 1 to 3 days, followed by a strict diet of fruit and vegetables, or fruit juices, and water. Um, so why do you need a powder on top of that? Because just doing that is more than enough. But some say, you should exercise regularly, eliminate alcohol, coffee, cigarettes, and refined sugar. Yeah, again, you don't need a detox powder to feel the benefit of that. And many plans also include taking different herbs, teas, supplements, and colon cleanses, including the coffee enema that Rob was talking about.
Yeah, for those in the chat, I just put the Wikipedia article. I think I edited that a long time ago.
But you may be wondering which toxins are going to be eliminated. And that's the catch. Detox diets rarely, if ever, specify the toxins that they aim to remove. The mechanism behind the detoxification is also incredibly unclear. There is little to no evidence to support the idea that cleanses or detox diets effectively remove any toxins from your body. Because what are toxins? Anything and everything can be considered a toxin if given in high enough doses, even oxygen and water. Right? And there's limited long term research on the safety of cleanse diets and detox kits. Most of them are low in calories and nutrients, and that can result in nutritional deficiencies. Detox diets usually increase stress, which can raise your cortisol levels, making it harder for you to lose weight. And they can cause
My wife's
dehydration.
friend bought this item where you it's a foot bath and you put
Oh, I
this.
love the foot bath.
Yeah, tell us about the foot bath, Kat.
Well, okay. Usually what they do is they give you these pads that you either put in the bottom of a bath or you wear them as socks. And when they come into contact with water, they turn black from all the toxins in your body
Yep, that
leaving.
absolutely proved to my wife's friend that it was working because it turned black.
It's charcoal. It's, you could just throw it in your sink and it's going to go black. But the dark side about cleanses and detoxes is that it can also be linked to eating disorders. And we don't need those. As somebody who suffered from them with my herbal hell experience, you don't need anybody triggering eating disorder issues. And your body, it's going to naturally detoxify itself. So we just focus on eating nutritious whole foods to support your overall health and well-being. And forget all these expensive foo-foo woo stuff, because it's garbage. And if you'll notice, wellness has replaced fashion as a hot topic in journalism. And it's seen as a status symbol now, creating new trends and fads. Fake science and jargon get clicks and sell products, so much so that wellness has become the single most consumed content on the internet. Yeah, even more than that. Wellness and health, go figure. Not what I would have guessed was the number one content, but shows where my brain is. But science is starting to be skewed by clickbait titles on dubious science topics based on low quality studies, which have often been completed more for catchy press release than any actual genuine research purposes. Many of the studies are published in journals funded by the wellness industry. 40% of university health and medical press releases contain exaggerated health advice, and 33% overemphasized a causal connection and exaggerated inference to humans based on animal research. 81% of news stories, respectively, contain similar exaggeration. Often journalists lack the background and access to experts to verify these claims, leaving questionable claims to go unchecked. So it makes it so much more difficult for consumers to actually discern fact from fiction with misleading headlines and buried facts. Celebrities, we talked about them. Celebrity beauty and diet secrets have been sought after for ages. People seek the celebrity endorsement because they know a well-known face equates with better sales. Celebrities promote diets, supplements, workout gear, beauty products, even energy drinks and water. Who knew that people could sell water anyway? But people aren't sure who to trust, so they look to celebrities or so-called experts. But just because people are famous doesn't mean they're reputable. Social media influencers and celebrity experts often propagate fake research results, share bad or cherry-picked data, and have unrealistic results. They even invent their own ineffective products. Data shows that almost 40% of people in America prefer alternative medicine over standard methods. In fact, from Tom Cruise to Angelina Jolie, many celebrities have already embraced non-conventional medicine. But let's get into some of the fun ones. Because there are examples of actual doctors who promote junk science. Prime example is Dr. Oz. He's a surgeon with a TV show and now some kind of cabinet posting. We won't go there. We won't get political. But he also has a YouTube channel and a huge following. This man frequently pushes the latest unproven weight loss trends along with supplements and hormones that have not been supported by science. He has a record of peddling baseless or wrong health advice, pushing Medicare Advantage, which is an alternative to the American government-run program that's administered by private health insurance companies. Dr. Oz promoted green coffee extract as the magic weight loss cure for every body type. He warned that GMO foods are unhealthy. No, they're not. He touted umkaloabo, which is a root extract, as a cure for the common cold, without mentioning the evidence was weak and he didn't mention any of the nasty side effects that come along with it. This is the man who thinks that putting lavender soap under your bed sheets can put an end to your restless leg syndrome. Another fine example is Dr. Joe Mercola. He is an osteopathic physician who stopped seeing patients in 2009 because the alternative wellness advocate has made a name for himself and amassed a great wealth selling supplements for humans and pets. His net worth is said to be in excess of $300 million. With his social media presence, website and podcast, YouTube channel, and books, Mercola is a key player in the wellness industry. The doctor site promotes homeopathy and warns the public about the evils of vaccines. He was recorded on video saying that he uses ChatGTP to write his articles from a quote science fiction standpoint to get around the fact checking. Prior to the pandemic, in 2019, an investigation by the Washington Post revealed that Mercola was a major funder of the anti-vaccine movement to the tune of $4 million, with $2.9 million specifically going to the National Vaccine Information Center, which, despite its misleading name, is one of the principal anti-vaccine organizations in the United States and was identified as a super spreader of COVID-19 misinformation on Facebook. In March of 2021, the Center for Countering Digital Hate released a report titled The Disinformation Dozen, revealing that Mercola was one of a dozen people responsible for 2/3 of all anti-vaccination content on Facebook and Twitter. It showed how a tiny group of determined anti-vaxxers was responsible for a tidal wave of disinformation. They all have blood on their hands, in my opinion. An expose released in March of this year by Jonathan Jerry called The Mercola Tapes, which is available on YouTube, shows that Mercola consults a psychic daily about all of his business dealings. He believes there are health benefits to putting CO2 up his rectum, and he plans to destroy the veterinary industry, but it's unclear why he feels this is necessary.
I watched that series. I was face palming the entire time. It's astounding.
You have much more restraint than I because I was screaming through most of it.
Oh, I'm queuing this up to watch later. This guy, I have a family member who has spent I couldn't even begin to imagine how much money on his supplements and scams and potions, and just keeps buying more, and he keeps coming out with more, and then people buy a whole new set of, I don't know what's in these
The latest and
supplements.
greatest, and he is big money, big money. And if you're in that realm, he's like a hero to many. Watch the Mercola tapes. It's 90 minutes long, but Jonathan Jerry, he's a friend of mine, he watched over 50 hours of video before making the Mercola tapes. So you have to sit through 90 minutes, but he sat through over 50 hours of it. So I know that in this talk, I've primarily focused on herbal products, but that's just one aspect of alternative medicine. There are more forms than I can even count. People want to empower themselves by taking control of their health. And sometimes the practices may seem relatively harmless, like meditation and yoga, but they can lead to practitioners going further down a pseudoscience path, and they can prevent people from seeking actual medical treatment. In the case of yoga, there have been actual cults formed around this practice, and several yoga gurus have been charged or accused of sexual assaults. I even came across an article titled, How to Tell If Your Healing Circle is a Cult and What to Do If It Is. Some popular practices include acupuncture, acupressure, reflexology, Reiki, energy healing, working your chakras, and healing crystals. Now, Reiki is a form of supposed energy healing where a person puts their hands over your body and heals you without actually touching you. And while this may seem harmless enough, it will definitely hurt your wallet. And these treatments aren't free. They may delay you getting medical treatment, but there are some people who believe that Reiki is demonic. And if you're a person of faith, which some of us used to be, they believe that, the Reiki is actually demonic and possessing you, and that can be extremely damaging mentally. and could send you into a crisis state where you may seek to rid yourself of the demons or the curse that was placed upon you. Now, I love rocks and shiny things. That's no secret, but I don't believe that crystals can heal people. The so-called healing crystals can actually potentially be harmful due to the false belief of their healing powers, but also gemstone toxicity, which is a real thing. There are certain types of gemstones that you should avoid due to their toxic elements, like malachite. It's known for its intense green color, but it can be toxic when exposed to water, acids, or heat. So it's not something that you want to wear as a, medallion around your neck to protect you. Orpiment has a striking yellow-orange hue, and it contains arsenic. So again, don't wear this in contact with your skin. The same can be said for relgar, which is a red-orange crystal that also contains arsenic, or cinnabar, which is known for its mercury content. That gemstone has to be handled with extreme caution. Galena is a crystal that contains lead, which can be hazardous if inhaled or ingested. Acupuncture and acupressure can cause tissue damage. And when you are introducing needles into your body, there can not only be anxiety and bleeding and bruising, but you can also get infections, central nervous system injuries, or even organ and tissue injuries. Some
I
side
just moved.
effects. Go ahead,
I just
sorry.
moved out of the location where my vet would service, and I had to find a new vet. So did some Google searching on local vets, and several I had to rule out because they offer Reiki and chiropractic for your pets.
It's so upsetting. And although it's uncommon, a small percentage of individuals receiving acupuncture end up dying. In a 2010 publication by Edzard Ernst entitled Acupuncture, a Treatment to Die For, noted that 86 individuals have died as a result of acupuncture-induced complications. Most of the deaths occurred in China or Japan, but some were recorded in the US, Germany, and Australia. The most common cause of death was a punctured heart or lungs. Ouch. But damaged arteries and livers, nerve problems, shock, infection, hemorrhage were also seen, largely because of incorrect needle placement or failure to sterilize the equipment. Ew. Ernst presented multiple cases in his report, including one of a 44-year-old Chinese woman who died as a result of an acupuncture needle being inserted too far within her heart. Any far into the heart is too far for me. But they ultimately punctured her right ventricle, which led to a rapid death. There was also a 26-year-old Chinese woman who died as a result of an acupuncture needle entering her lung, causing tension neurothorax. So whenever I tell my story, I always hear from people who are now reflecting and wondering if that's what happened to their loved one who had an unexplained illness or died mysteriously. Often people ask me how they can talk to somebody to steer them away from alt med. And the best advice I have is to stay skeptical, beware of pseudoscience, educate yourself and your loved ones, and learn how to seek out science-based evidence for claims. You have to look for claims that are too good to be true or really vague. Here's a key takeaway. If there are no side effects or risks mentioned on the package, then the chances are great that no clinical trials have ever been done or that it's homeopathic. Because any active treatment has the possibility of harm, side effects, or an adverse reaction. If there's been clinical trials, something has occurred at one point, and there would be that annotation listed. And always tell your healthcare providers what you're taking. Do your research, and I've included a couple of links that are useful when you're looking for herbal interactions and other information. So don't fall victim to it. Be gentle and kind with yourself and with others. And most importantly, please, please, please learn from my mistake. If you want to reach out to me or share my story, feel free. Do we have time for questions?
Yes, we do. And I love your Yoda slide. Choose wisely, you must.
You
He
must.
says.
Or,
I
or,
love it.
or says he.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that and sharing your story and your cautionary tale with us. I'm going to go check on all of my protein and other
Now
supplements
you have
now.
homework. See, just like me.
Yes, definitely have some homework now. And we've got questions. I bet we won't get through all of them, but we're going to try. Rob, do you want to start us off
Yeah,
with
before
one?
you,
Yeah.
I do want to add one thing. So, some people like I didn't see anything in the chat like that, but it's definitely a common thing. It says, well, even real medicine will kill some people and hurt you and whatever, right? I hear that a lot. So, like, what does this mean? But the problem is, real medicine, in the majority of cases, actually helps people. This stuff is bullshit, is the bottom line. There's no reason
Well,
to do this.
and with real, like actual medicine, they've gone through clinical trials. They know what the risks are. They're
Yes,
going to tell you what the risks are.
right,
They're going to tell you what the interactions are. It's just like when you're going for
right.
surgery, they tell you, hey, these things could happen to you. When you're taking a herbal supplement or, protein powder or whatever, you're not getting any of that risk information. You're not getting any of that interaction information. It's the wild, wild west.
Yes. But my main point was there's no reason to do it at all because there's no scientific evidence it actually works. So it's not like a benefit gain thing. There's no gain possible except in your head because you think it might help. That's all. All right. So, to the official questions. Let's see. Have you noticed an alt medicine to alt right pipeline? Oh, political question.
I haven't. I
Yeah.
think that alt med is pretty much universal, that, all walks of life can fall victim to pseudoscience.
I would agree. I know a lot of people on the left spectrum, and many of them are, no, especially at the beginning of the no, vaccines are bad. GMOs are bad. The scientists want to kill you. So yeah, definitely you're right about that.
Well, in the
Yeah.
kratom stuff that I was talking about earlier, they're calling it like the hippie heroin. I don't
Yeah.
think most alt-right would consider themselves hippies.
Yeah.
No, I would say I know with some folks in the chat had mentioned that it was perhaps the case for them that if they were in a religious community that didn't trust actual medical doctors, that there was a tendency to go to the alt medicine. But I mean, to your point, it sounds like there are a lot of communities of people that are turning to this for other reasons besides that.
Over 80% of the world's population.
Yeah, that's incredible. They have figured out a way to scam almost everybody simultaneously. Wow. Okay, well, okay, we've got another question here. This is a Canada-specific question. Uh, someone is asking, is there a weird raw milk movement in Canada like in the US? Like we have a lot of people that I don't know if you know about raw milk, but
Oh
it's like
yeah.
unpasteurized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
It
that a
no.
thing?
We don't have that big problem here. I mean, there's always a little underground, farmers doing that, but no, it's nothing like what's going on in America right now.
Well, at least that's good to know.
We pasteurize up here.
Seems like a good idea.
Yeah. If only there was some process that would actually remove any bad things from the stuff before you drink it.
Crazy talk.
Ugh.
Crazy.
Yeah. All right. So this is near and dear to my heart because, as I mentioned, I will drink green tea much as any other tea. So someone asked how much green tea is too much. It's become part of my morning ritual, they say.
I would investigate the company because, you know, some companies are going to be much better than others. Where are they sourcing the tea from? Because not only can too much green tea or green tea extract be bad for your liver, depending on where it's being grown, it may also have pesticides on it that are not good for you. Same can be said for black tea as far as pesticides go, just so you know. That's why the one I drink, pesticide free. So yeah, it
That
depends on, you know, your age, your weight, all kinds of different things as to how much is too much. If you're worried about it, I would definitely talk to your healthcare provider. And I mean, you can absolutely look up all kinds of studies online about it too.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry, I've
Next up.
traumatized everybody.
Oh yeah, we've got now a whole list of everyone has questions about everything they're taking. So that's like most of the rest of our questions here. The next
And
one
then you're all
is
gonna boo, and I'll just reel away in shame.
I love it. But this is a good question, I think. Someone is saying, I take a national brand multivitamin. Should I be worried? And how do I find out if it's safe? Where can we go check these products?
Are you American? I'm gonna
Good
guess
question.
yes. Um, First of all, chances are you don't need it unless it's been doctor recommended for you. Um, Vitamins are in the exact same boat as natural health products, especially here in Canada. They fall under the same regulations. So, what I did when I had to take some vitamin C, my doctor ordered me in Canada before the NHP regulations came into place. Vitamins were considered drugs and they had to get drug identification numbers. So, I would go to those companies because I trusted them, because they had previously gone through all the rigorous testing. Now, can errors still happen? Absolutely. Do I have examples? Absolutely. Do I want to make you cry? Not so much.
Fair.
But yeah, like use, nationally recommended, especially if they do things like make drugs, you know that chances are they're going to have clean manufacturing plants. Can mistakes happen? Yes, but it's better than the mom and pop shop that may be picking alfalfa off the side of the highway.
Yes. And someone has shared in the link too for people based in the US, a link to the FDA website talking about supplements and understanding which ones are safe and how to investigate that. So definitely check that. Um, okay, I'm going to drop that in our resources for the episode as well. Okay, where were we after that? Oh yeah, Rob, what you got?
All right. Well, you did suggest some books there, but somebody wanted to know, can you suggest any good books for the layperson about alternative medicine?
There are lots of books out there promoting it. There's not that
Yeah, I'm
many.
pretty sure that's not what they're talking
Yeah,
about.
there's not that many out there about the warnings for it. That is where
Hmm.
we're deeply lacking. Um, Depending on, like, I'm just going to plug it since it's right next to me. I love this book. It's called, oh, you probably can't see it because I got my Ring camera on. Whoop. It's called Mind the Science by Dr. Jonathan Stea. And he takes a look at alt med from the psychological perspective. But you can see how many tabs I've got on it. You can use it in different areas of your life. So this is one good resource that I really love and recommend to people. And just so you know, this is the Canadian cover. The American cover is slightly different, but it's the exact same content inside.
Love it. And we've got that linked as well. I found the link to that and we'll drop that in the chat for folks. All right. Okay, next question is about glucosamine. Uh, do we need to be worried for joint conditions and
Oh
joint
yeah,
pain?
like hey, for our animals, for our peoples, like I say, if your doctor's recommending you take it, go for it.
Mhm.
If it's from a recognized brand, like I don't think you guys have Jameson down south, but
Mm.
um one of the like national brands that is well known, you're probably going to be okay. It's probably not going to be contaminated with anything. It's probably going to have on the label what you are expecting. But again, if it's, oh, a cheap brand from overseas, you may not be getting what you're paying for. So always be cautious.
It's a great point. And I did want to share that I checked on some of these links for the certifying programs for supplements and found out that my protein powder is safe. So
All
I know
right.
y'all were worried.
Yay, so I don't have to send you that link. I've got a note here to do that. Yay!
Yay! Good to know where to check now. Um, okay, let's see. What else do we have?
Oh, so before the next question,
Yeah.
somebody in the chat and people watching this later won't see the chat. So to the question about what other information or books are available for this kind of thing. So there's actually a website called Science-Based Medicine. It's a blog. It's by neurologist Stephen Novella and others, and Stephen was a speaker here for RfRx on a different subject, but there's a lot of good information on science-based medicine.
Yeah, there's lots of great podcasts as well, and the McGill Office of Science and Society, they Jonathan Jerry works for them. They do weekly newsletters that talk about the latest and greatest things. You can just subscribe to the newsletter; it's free. Yeah, there's lots of little resources, but there's very few books that actually deal with,
Mhm.
hey, partly because it's an ever-changing landscape, right?
Yeah.
It's also partly because just the general problem with this whole thing. And by that I mean everything that's a weird idea where people, ooh, that's interesting. Let me buy a book on that, or let me watch this video on that. And then if you get a book that's just debunking it, oh, I don't want to read that.
Yeah. There's
It's the
not a
same
lot of
thing with,
money, and
no,
hey,
it's not.
this is
There
why
is
it's
that, and
wrong for all
and
these
follow the
reasons.
money too. That's correct. Yeah.
Trust
Anyone
me,
like
that's why
me,
I'm a multimillionaire-ess. No.
that's why you have all those fancy tiaras, which you're not wearing now for some reason.
Hey, the
Yeah.
tiaras are in the other room. I have to run and get them.
I'll have to get them for the hangout.
Yes.
Which it's almost time for. I think we've got time for maybe one or two more questions. Let's see here. Okay. Um, how about, okay, this one came up a few times in the chat. You've talked about it a little bit, but organic foods and supplements and products. What are your thoughts on organic as a title or a label or a type of product?
I used to buy into organic, and now I think it's just bogus. For the most part, looking into the regulations required for organic status, like the farm next to yours may be using pesticides, and guess what? If it's a windy day, it's going to come onto your food anyway. You can use a vinegar rinse and wash your food and get all that off. Yeah, and like we said with the protein powders, the organics were worse than the other ones. So it's a lot of times you're paying for a fancy name, and it's not necessarily a better product. It was funny the other day I was in the grocery store, and somebody didn't want to buy the corn because they were looking for the non-GMO corn on the cob. I'm just like,
Oh no.
do you know what GMO stands for?
We
Do you know
cultivated
that
this
maize was
product.
a thing once, and corn is the genetically modified thing that came out of that? Like,
Oh goodness. Well,
yeah.
and people don't. People will hear that GMOs are dangerous and they think that GMOs are like a chemical that is sprayed on your food or something. I've had people ask, like I had this conversation with the same family member who has all the Dr. Mercola stuff about they had gotten some new kind of milk that was supposed to be safe for people who were lactose intolerant or something because they had bred the cows to have less of a certain protein that causes the lactose to give you trouble. Anyway, I said, "Oh, are you not worried about GMOs anymore?" And they said, "Oh, do you think they put GMOs in this?"
Oh my
It's
goodness.
like, "Oh no, that's not how that works."
So
But people don't.
as a
People don't
reminder,
understand.
we had a whole talk on this subject by Kevin Folta, and I just put the link in the chat for people watching this on YouTube. It's RFRX Food Informing Disinformation, Risk Perception, and Social Media Influence, featuring Kevin Folta.
Ooh, excellent callback. Yeah, that was a good one.
They use all natural pesticides. So I'm trying not to get distracted by the chat, but I'm normally lurking in there, so it's very tempting.
Yeah, no, you're good. Okay, let's see. What we got time for probably one more question. Rob, you want to pick?
Yeah. So this is a higher level topic. So how do you accommodate legitimate distrust of institutions? I suppose they mean pharmaceuticals and medical institutions.
Well, everything in life has got a risk, you know? You can say leaving your house has got a risk because you could get hit by a car. So going to a doctor has got a risk because maybe they give you misinformation like my GP did. Staying at home can be a risk because you could have a slip and fall in the shower. Like, you can't mitigate all risk. You just have to make your best estimation on what's going to work for you and do your research and see what you feel comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, something's going to take you out. Is you know, like nobody gets out of life alive. Spoiler alert. It's, so you just have to find out what's the best for you.
That's fair. Risk-aware consumption, I guess. Well, with that in mind, what do you say we see the answers to our poll results, our poll questions? Okay, let's see what people said at the beginning. And I wonder if anyone's answers would change now that they've heard the talk. So, the first thing we asked was, have you ever partaken in alternative medicine? And 6% of respondents said yes, currently. Which apparently, after hearing this, some of us may have been taking alternative medicine and not really known it with the cough drops and things like that. 50% of people said yes in the past. 41% of people said no, and 12% of people selected unsure of what constitutes alternative medicine. That may have been a wise answer. Okay, question number 2. Or well, before we go to that, how does that strike you, Kat? Does that align with what you would expect generally?
Generally, yeah. I would have been shocked if everybody said no, they've never encountered alt med in their life because it is such a huge, vast array of different things. Have you ever gone to a chiropractor? Have you, even some people consider massage to be, a
Mm.
pseudoscience, which, I mean, they feel real good. Is it,
Yeah.
helping me? Yeah, to relax, that's it. But, so it is such a huge spectrum that I would have been shocked if the answers weren't,
Hmm.
similar to this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and other people are mentioning too, in the chat that they found out during the talk that maybe they should have picked yes. Yep. So the more you know. Okay. The next question was, what is another name for alternative medicine? Several people picked holistic healing or holistic medicine. A few people went for some of the others, complementary or natural medicine. And the majority of people selected all of the above. I am going to guess at the end of the talk that all of the above probably is
It
the
is the correct
actual
answer.
answer.
You
Yeah.
get your gold star.
Yeah, look at that. I got one right.
But it can be confusing because when you think of like holistic medicine, looking at the entire patient, well, that should be a very good thing. But usually it also involves a lot of alt med. It's not looking at it from a medical doctor looking at you holistically. They're like
Mhm.
wanting to give you vitamin K and magnets for under your bed.
Not sure how that's treating the whole person, but okay.
It's magnetizing you just like the vaccines do.
Oh, yeah.
That's why your debit card doesn't work anymore. It's not because they've stolen all your money.
No, it's not that. Definitely not that. Okay, and then we had our fun question on the TV show Frasier. Dr. Frasier Crane and his brother Niles were, and we had about 10% of people selected chiropractors and 10% selected naturopaths. I don't think anybody knew what iridologists were before this talk. I sure didn't, and I'm
See, and I threw
not
that in
sure
there
I'm
thinking
glad to
some people
know.
might go, Oh, I don't know what that is. I'll guess that.
Yeah,
You
I
fell for
mean,
it. You're all too
I knew
smart.
what that was. Actually, we sat down in a restaurant at an open air place in Aruba, and there was a reflexologist right next to an iridologist.
oh wow. I wonder
Mm.
if it was the same person. He just had
Yeah,
two
I don't
clinics.
know. Yeah.
Well, most people did select the correct answer here. They were both psychiatrists in that show.
Which is the only actual medical doctor that I listed. Everything else is pseudoscience.
Yep. Fair enough. Well, I'm glad that doctors Crane were at least practicing real medicine on TV.
On TV in their fictional way.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that. And we are about at the end of our time. Do you have anything that you would like to share with us? Any last thoughts before we wrap up and go to the hangout?
Just be safe.
Yes, good advice. Please be
I know
safe.
I've scared you all. I'm so sorry, but don't I wouldn't wish what has happened to me on anybody else. Like I live with the consequences of what happened every single day of my life. I have permanent health issues because of this. I don't want that to happen to you guys.
Yeah, well, and thank you for sharing that with us because I mean, even though, yeah, it kind of became a thing where everyone is now like typing in, what about this? What about this? What about this? I mean, it's serious. Maybe we should all go check and make sure
Mhm.
that we're not consuming anything that we don't mean to be.
Absolutely.
Absolutely good to scare people a little bit sometimes when you're scaring them into taking action that will help them.
Thanks
So,
again, Kat, for sharing your story and coming on with such short notice.
Thank you so much for having
yes.
me.
Yeah, and if you're able to stick around for the hangout, I know we've got more questions for you.
You betcha.
Awesome. All right.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, we'll go to that in just a second. Thanks everybody for coming, and thanks Kat for being here and sharing with us, and Rob and Daniel and Gail and everybody else who's helping us run the show, and Nikki and all of our post production folks and the planning folks and the advertising folks and the social media people and everybody that makes the show come together, and everybody who comes and participates. We would not be here without you. So thank you. And be sure and join us next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. We've got a lot of cool guests coming up. We've got Eugenie Scott, Mr. Deity. I think it's the second coming. I love that because we've had him on once before. Um, we got Janice Selby coming back, Robert Bartholomew, Kenny Biddle, and lots more. So keep joining us. And don't forget to follow us on the social medias. It helps you keep up with what we're doing, but it also helps other people find us and know about our services that they can access. So please feel free to like and follow and subscribe and share and all that stuff. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and of course, YouTube, where you can watch previous episodes of RfRx. And with that, Rob, how else can people get involved?
Well, they can think about volunteering here. We've learned that healing can also come from helping other people. Our far volunteers find meaning and purpose by volunteering here. All of our services are provided by our staff of volunteers, and we're always in need of more people. There are all sorts of jobs besides working the helplines. We need people to find and vet and then post good resources, as we talked about earlier. For our clients, we need people to host support groups. We need people to support the online community and even IT support. And even what we're doing here right now. Eventually you can become a host, co-host. You can help edit these and get them up on YouTube into our podcast. So to apply, fill out a form, which is on our main page on the tab that says volunteer. Lastly, let me mention there's a 3-minute video on the bottom of our main page with almost 3,000 views. You can share that with those in need. It's 3 minutes of everything that we do here that it took Cara and I about 20 minutes to read at the beginning. It's 3 minutes with video. Yeah, so it's called RFR What We Do on YouTube.
All right. Thanks for that. And with that, let me hand it over to the fabulous Gail Jordan. Do you have any final thoughts or benediction for us?
Thank you, Kara. Yes, I do. Kat, thank you so much for coming. My heart hurts for young Kat trying to do the right thing and trying to follow the advice and trying to take care of herself. And that it hurts me. It hurts me to know that you have suffered long term because of that. But thank you for offering that up. for folks, for those of us, coming behind and learning and figuring all this out. I was prepared for this to answer the question that nobody asked, which is, what does all this have to do with recovering from religion? And I will say that, it's frustrating to me the how very good these products have gotten at marketing to us, because one of the things that we try to help people with when they come to us struggling with doubts about their faith is to encourage them to think for themselves and to encourage them not to follow authorities mindlessly and all of the things. All good advice, all good advice. However, that's the same lingo that these companies have co-opted. And so it's frustrating because we're trying to, I call that trying to thread that particular needle, because we do want people to develop critical thinking skills. We do want to provide folks with solid scientific information. But those of us who were raised in high control religions didn't develop those skills. We don't, and that's a skill that is a skill. That's not something that happened. We have to learn how to, do your own research. How many times have we seen that on the internet corrupted and used the wrong way because they present information anyway? It's frustrating to us. It's something that we're sensitive to here at Recovering from Religion. And so that's the crossover between developing this skill set and being skeptical and being critical thinkers about how we approach the information that's being processed to us. So I appreciate you coming and presenting, Kat. Once again, as always, we thank everybody who is working with RFR behind the scenes. There's so many folks that you don't know about to make all of this come together. And so thank you to all of them. And if you would like to be one of them, we would love to have you. We're always looking for new volunteers to welcome to our volunteer family. It's very simple. You've heard it about 12 times during this podcast alone. Go to the Recovering from Religion website, click on the volunteer tab, and the process will begin. And we would love to have you join us. And one last push. This is August. One more month until our fall excursion. If you have not been, and if there's any possibility of you attending the fall excursion, September 19th through 21, we still have some openings. That is also an easy registration process. And we have a children's program this year, a Camp Quest sponsored children's program. We had a little mini version of that last year, and the activities that the kids did made all of us who were attending the fall excursion to participate in the children's program. So if you've got children who could take advantage of that, we would love for you to join us, and we would love for you to attend the fall excursion if you possibly can. We would love to see you there. Everybody, hang on, stay for the hangout, and we will see you next time.